talk to you a little bit today about one of the most underutilized but most powerful practices or poses, and that is the topic of Savasana. So we have a sense or have been told that Savasana can be so powerful and profound. And that being the truth, we still experience a lot of resistance internally when it comes to remaining in Savasana. And so my goal with this video is just to share a little bit about how Savasana can unfold, how it can benefit you, and why you maybe ought to explore staying for a little bit in your Savasana. So, first off, the thing that I notice is that most people are using the allotted time for Savasana, and that's usually, anywhere from as little as 30 seconds to a couple of minutes in the class before leaving. And this would be like a very small minimum, but in reality, when we are talking about Savasana, a scale of like 5 to 10 to even 15 minutes is a good place to be spending in there. Especially after a good yoga practice physically, it's going to be very helpful to unwind mentally. But what people fail to notice with Savasana is that it actually gets better over time. We get deeper into it. And what happens initially is that a lot of people are intimidated or put off by the fact that they enter into Savasana and they don't feel relaxed right away. Or they might not even notice too much of a difference in their state within the first couple of minutes of being there. The other thing that kind of gets in the way is that at the end of practice, there's a tendency for there to be a rush out of the room. Most people leave, honestly, within the first minute of the namaste. So people are getting up even within the first space of like a breath, not even a breath, right? And this creates a lot of commotion and sound in the room. And then I think that a lot of people, students, just kind of go along with that and they figure like, okay, this is when everybody leaves, right? And one thing that you might notice is that if you kind of persist through those minute or two in the beginning, when everybody's leaving the room, 90% of the people will be gone. And then the room can become very quiet, and that's actually the time to really drop into meditation and into relaxation. So that brings me further along the chain of like what happens in Savasana. So for me, it kind of goes in chapters and cycles. So as the time goes on, there's always an initial sort of ice to break. So the mind might wander a little bit. You might find yourself skipping further into your day with your mind, but with persistence of just remaining there, relaxing. As I tell my students, you don't have to enforce silence on the mind. You just have to affirm that it's a priority or more important in the moment, that you're in relaxation, and then whatever noise or whatever commentary the mind wants to put forth is acceptable. We can work with that. We can become aware of it. We can sort of just let it flow through, or even take it as a topic of centering on to learn a little bit more about what is the internal flow of ourselves. And there's also this belief that we have that it's just going to be endless, that if we tune in, then it's just going to be an endless stream. And to a degree, that's very possible and very likely, especially if you're not used to longer periods of meditation or relaxation. The mind might have a lot of content. But if we can recognize that it's coming through, it's passing, it's cyclic, and also we continue to reaffirm in ourselves that relaxation is the most important thing that's going on at the moment, it won't be so disturbing what happens with the mind. Now, few people reach this point, but eventually there is a point where the mind starts to burn out and where your reprioritization of that ease, that internal silence starts to take place, and then you drop in. And this can happen in stages. So we know from the perspective of effort that we can always ramp things up. We know that we can always progress and activate further or do more, but rarely do we apply this philosophy to our relaxation. We just assume that the most relaxed we've been, or as relaxed as we are now, it's not going to deepen. But what continued practice of Shavasana can show us is that to the degree that we allow ourselves, we can go further and further into that state, perhaps even into an unknown place that we've never been. And this can even be something which is intimidating to folks. So again, more comfortable in general with pushing the envelope in terms of effort. But when it comes to exploring ease and internal silence, people are surprisingly more uncomfortable with that, more resistant, or more willing to just get up and feel that Shavasana is complete if they reach some baseline level of relaxation. So I would welcome you to explore the time in it, open up to the idea that you might drop down in stages. And what one can experience even is that between these stages, there might be like quiet, and then there's a little bit of like a blip in the mind where it becomes active again for a few seconds or minutes. And then if we go past that, we actually can drop deeper. So just recognizing that it's not like a straightforward linear process that happens. Different tensions in the body or different focuses of the mind might come to forefront at certain times, but continuing to see it as a journey and looking beyond, being willing to find out what's on the other side or behind all of the content that we continue to experience in the mind. And I just want to speak to the power of those deeply relaxing and restful moments. The dose of it required, I think, to really settle ourselves within and heal is so little. Only within a few breaths, within a few minutes of really touching a deeper stage or space of relaxation, some very deep effects can come to our nervous system. And this is where you might notice the breath kind of taking on its own quality or seeming like it's stopped for a time because we're at such ease, or maybe even being led on a personal, internal, sort of what feels like a psychedelic journey or altered state can all come about just from continuing to deepen and being willing to find out about who are you and what happens in you in that state of relaxation. So the next time that you come to a yoga class or you're at home and you're practicing, I would suggest that you explore a longer, deeper Shavasana. Don't get up when everybody else gets up. Just hold on another few minutes and you'll experience deeper silence and peace. This is Anand. Be well.